Welcome. In some denominations, you'd make a trip to the pastor's study for answers to the really tough questions. Well, let's see what we can do here. Merry meet, blessed be, and welcome. Welcome to another session in a very different pastor's study. Depending on how you got here, I'm Aidan Odinson, High Priest of the Temple of Gaia, or Bishop Cal Lippitt, presiding Bishop, Universal Episcopal Church, and a priest of the Universal Gnostic Fellowship. Interesting thing about being a Wiccan and a Gnostic, you go through so many other paths and you see Wicca and Gnosticism there. Funny thing though, some people on those paths don't see it. But sometimes you get to see some wisdom being exercised, sometimes by people who may not even know what kind of wisdom they're doing. And I saw it this week in this whole round and round and round about what do we do about Syria. And Syria that supposedly is, one story is that the Syrian government is using chemical weapons, especially sarin gas, against innocent people. Now, hate to say this, except for on a conventional battlefield where you've got uniformed troops and everybody else has been chased away, you're going to have innocent people. Which isn't an excuse, just a statement of fact. And when you use something like sarin gas, you just aggravate the system. You aggravate a bad situation even more. And so President Obama felt that he had not much choice except to launch some sort of a military strike to knock out that chemical weapon capability. I'm not going to argue it one way or the other, for or against. He didn't seem to have a choice, or he felt that way. And so we come to a situation where if we did go in and strike, would we be making enemies of friends? Vladimir Putin of Russia said that he would have to take the side of the Syrian government. They have an alliance. Those of you who've studied how World War I got started realize that it was a chain reaction of alliances that caused one political assassination to mushroom. If we were to strike against Syria, would that mean we would be taking the side of the rebels? Would that mean that we would be allied with people in one place that are our enemies in other places, such as Afghanistan? Valid questions. Well, let's look at another valid question. I show you a glass of water. The water is up at the halfway point. Is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? I can tell you of a number of people I know who would go round and round and round and round and round and round and round on that. Sure. And it's just as much of an exercise in futility as trying to decide which came first, the chicken or the egg. And so, is it half full or is it half empty? Well, folks, you know what? The argument misses the point. Both sides of the argument, half full and half empty. You know why? Your concern is not really the glass. It's the water inside of it that you're going to use for something. You don't have a glass for a glass's sake. You have a glass for holding water. So the question is the water in the glass enough? We never said if the glass was too big or too small or just right. Are we talking about the right amount of water in a glass that's twice the size of what it needs to be? Okay. And so I read here on CNN that Secretary of State John Kerry made a remark to the effect of the Syrian president could prevent a strike, I'm reading here, if he could turn over every single bit of his chemical weapons to the international community in the next week. Yeah. Get rid of that chemical arsenal. Well, Vladimir Putin from Russia thought that was a good idea, and he started pushing it. And last I heard, this Syrian president is giving it serious consideration. We call that advanced level thinking. And so, suddenly here's something else. Instead of saying, are we going to attack and run all those risks? Are we going to not attack? And some people will say that means we're condoning it, or we're just sitting idly by and letting them. No. Here's a third alternative. What if they got rid of those weapons? What if they could get rid of those weapons? Okay. Now it's a whole new ballgame. Now maybe all this stuff that we've been talking about before might not need to happen now. By the time you see me talk about this, who knows what might have happened? But we do know that somebody thought up a third possibility. And we're blessed that we've got somebody, a few somebodies who are willing to go along with it. Rather than the knee-jerk reaction A versus B. Is the glass full? Is the glass empty? And we're not asking, what about the water in the glass? And I think if you look for maybe about 5 minutes, you'll find some basic Wiccan principles in that. And some Gnostic principles. And some thinking principles. I'm Aidan. Merry part and merry meet again. Blessed be. I'll see you next week. This has been a presentation of the Wise Ones Net. Merry part and blessed be.